Okay, here we are with Lab 3, Exercise 2, and we'll be drawing this part here. Now, there's multiple ways to draw this part, many different ways. I'm going to show two ways here, mainly one using the revolution, and then we'll use a loft feature to also create it as well. So let's start out with the revolution way. So you can notice that the middle of this part is actually symmetric. However, these tabs here on the left and right side are not. So we can use a combination of revolutions with extrusions. We can use revolution to make this middle part, and then an extrusion then to make these other two tabs here. So that's what I'm going to start out doing. So let's start out with that method. All right. Another thing you need to notice if you see carefully in the lab is that this part is done in inches. These dimensions are in inches, not in millimeters. So let's make the new part that we make in inches. So here this is millimeters here. Let's, under the templates, click on English, and that IN there is inches. So let's make our part in inches. Now the first thing I'm going to do is again create a sketch. Let's make our center lines, and I'll make our vertical center line. Okay, let's look here. Notice this part is not symmetric about a horizontal line, only about a vertical line. So for the bottom line, I'm going to make a construction line rather than a center line. Okay, and then I'll draw this cross-section profile here. Okay, let's do that. So now let's make a construction line here for the bottom. Okay, and now let's go through and create the part. Alright, so remember, let's just get the general shape of it first. We can get the approximate, or we can approximate the dimensions and get them exact later. Okay. Alright, so let's get the approximate here. There. Alright, there's the approximate shape right there. Okay, notice I could go ahead and finish the sketch. And there's my profile. Now watch what happens now if I try to revolve it. Let's revolve. I want to first select the profile. Notice I cannot click on it. I could click on this and then select on the axis, but notice that looks funny, doesn't it? It's that brown color. Well, that's because this profile is not a closed profile. Notice there's no solid line down here at the bottom. Okay, so when I revolve, when I try to select a profile, it says, hey, there's not one there because it's not a closed loop or a closed profile. Okay, so I need to go back and close the profile first. So let's go back to my sketch, edit that, and I need to draw a line that goes from this point to this point here. Alright, now I've closed that profile. So now when I go to revolve, it will choose it and make that middle part there. Okay? Alright, let's go ahead and check there. Alright, let's now go back and add my dimensions to it. And class, you can go ahead and do this. I recommend clicking pause and giving this a try yourself here. Alright, let's try some of this. 3.25. And notice I can still click and drag this, meaning it's not defined vertically. Now I did that because notice you can see the black lines are the ones that are not yet fully defined. Okay, so see, I click on the black lines and try to move them and see what's not defined. That vertical distance is not defined. So let's go back on this dimension. That's still the last one that's not defined. And it's 0.75 to here. Okay. This updated. Okay, so I've got the center part now. Now I want to go through and just make these bottom tabs here. Okay. I'm going to have to do that with an extrusion, can't do it with the revolution. So I'm going to create a sketch on this bottom surface here. Again, I know it's symmetric about a vertical line, so let's make a center line that's vertical. Okay. Now I'm going to make a construction line that's horizontal. I want the construction line to be long here. So watch this. Let's do a brief tutorial on constraints here. I can make a long line like this. Now I can snap that line to the center by this coincident constraint. Let's make this on top of that. There you go. I can click on these ends and drag them longer if I want. Turn construction off. Okay. Let's make some circles here on the end. I'll show you what we'll do. Let's make one there and one there. Now you say, hey, why didn't you use mirror? Well, you could use mirror. I just want to show you another way to do it. Okay. So I've got two circles here, but I want these circles to be the same. There should be symmetric about this line. So here's the symmetric constraint. Okay. So I want this circle and this circle to be symmetric around that line. So now notice if I click and drag one, the other moves as well. If I change the size, the other size changes also. Okay. Now these circles that I've made are not going to be for the holes. They're going to be this outside circle here. Now I need to connect with a line here. Okay, now notice this straight line is tangent to this circle and tangent to the large circle in the middle. Okay. Alright, so let's first just make a line, and I'm not going to make it tangent at first, and then I'll go use a constraint to make it tangent. Okay, so this line is not tangent, and I can make it that way by this tangent constraint. So now let's click this line and this line. Now that's tangent. And now let's make this and this tangent as well. Okay, so I've made this line. Now, if you're following along, I want you to stop and not follow me from here. I'm going to show you something not to do that you may think should work, but it actually does not work in the software. But it's a common mistake that students make, so let me show you what that is. Okay, now that I've got one line, sometimes you think, hey, now let's just go mirror this to be down here, and you'll see. So let's say if I mirror this line around this, okay, and now let's mirror this and this around that, and you say, okay, there's my general shape. Now let's extrude. So let's finish this. I want to extrude this up. Okay, we have a problem here. I'm wanting to select a profile. Notice I can select this circle, but I cannot select anything here. There's nothing to select. The reason for that is it's not closed. Remember, just like we had the problem with the revolution, these profiles are not closed. So the problem came when I tried to mirror to make this one and these lines. For some reason the mirror feature does not snap this. It basically does not close the profile. So let me show you the better way to do it here. Let's delete that. I'm just going to have to do it again here. So I'm going to do the same thing I did on this top line. Let's create one there. And now let's make this and this tangent and this tangent. Okay, again, same thing. Well, here, let's just stop there. Okay. And we could even delete that and we'll mirror. So let's delete that one because we're just going to mirror this to the other side. Okay, let's add in some dimensions here. Alright. Notice this dimension is given as a radius, and this is a diameter here, so let's do 2 times 0.75. There it is. Alright. You could use the trim here. It's not absolutely necessary. I could trim this, and get rid of this little part as well. Okay, I was just clicking and dragging so that I can now click escape to get out of the trim. So that just got rid of that middle part. Okay, now when I extrude, I can select this profile and not extrude it down, but let's extrude it the opposite way. So I can flip the direction of the extrusion by just using these toggles here. Okay, and let's make that, what is it, 0.5. Alright, there's that. Now I only made one of them, well, that's no problem. I can mirror over, but let's wait to mirror until I make this hole here, so then I can mirror both the hole and this tab here. Okay, so now let's select this. And let's just make a point right there, and I'll make the hole using the hole feature. This hole will go all the way through, and the diameter of the hole is 0.63. Okay, now I can just simply do a mirror where I mirror this and the hole, and I mirror it about that middle plane there. Okay, there's our part. So again, you can see the inside of it by doing a half section view around the middle plane, and there's that part. Let's undo that. Make sure you save your work here. This is Lab 3 Exercise 2. Okay. You'll have to also update your eye properties, so make sure you do that, adding in the correct material here and your information under the summary. Okay, so that's one way to make the part there, using a revolution for the middle part and then an extrusion for this tab part out here. Alright, the last way I'm going to show you is by just using extrusions only. Okay, and we'll use what's called a loft feature to do it. Alright, so you can save that, and we're done with this. This way that I've done here is perfectly fine. Let me show you another way as well. Okay, so it's by using a loft feature. Alright, so the loft says, hey, let's make, I'm just going to show you in general here. Let's make this bottom circle, which is a diameter of 3.25. Okay, now I'm going to make another circle up above here, which will actually be this top circle. So the circle that I've just drawn is this bottom one here. Let's make this top one and its diameter is 2.5. Now its height is a distance of 1.5 above this one. 2 minus 0.5, that's 1.5. So the vertical distance from here to here is 1.5. So watch this. Okay, I can create a work plane that is offset from this bottom plane, and I want to offset it a distance of 1.5. And now I can create a sketch on this plane, and let's make that 2.5. Finish that. So now notice I have these two circles, and basically I just want to connect them, and that's done by using this Loft feature here. So now I can click on Loft, click right here on this click to add, and I want this sketch and this sketch, and then click OK, and it basically connected those two sketches that I've made there. I can turn this visibility off, and that's how you would create that middle part. And then of course you could create the bottom part just how we did before, by making a circle here, adding in these tangent constraints. Whoop. Okay, notice this circle is not on this center line, so I can add a construction line that is locked into that center there, make it horizontal, and then I can add in this constraint, coincident constraint. There you go. Okay, so again, this part that I'm doing here is, sorry, I've forgotten to turn my construction line off. So you see this line is construction. I can toggle that by clicking on the line and just turning off construction. Alright, so again, let's make this tangent. Alright, and I can, you could add in the dimensions. I'm not going to do it now because I'm just showing you the general way to make this part. Okay, so again, I could extrude this and this. Also, this bottom part come down 0.5. Okay, you could create your hole as well. This time we'll just do it with the circle. Okay, I'm skipping the dimensions part, guys, just so that you can see the overall idea of how to do this. So I've made that hole just by using an extrusion as a cut, and then I can mirror this and this all around that plane there. Okay, so we've got that part, and then what you could do then is to make the inside, well, you could just keep extruding. So you could make a circle here on top first, that's 1.75 in diameter. Extrude that, not that part, sorry about that. You can extrude the center as a cut and go down a distance of 0.38. So that has that first part, and then you just keep kind of extruding down from there. So I could extrude this down a distance, or sorry, what's that diameter? It's a diameter of 1. And I could extrude that one as a cut all the way through. Okay. Now down here, let's come up from the bottom this time. Let's make that one 1.5. Okay, notice here, I'm going to make this cut not 0.75, but let's make it a distance of 1. Now, let's go back and made that wrong distance, make that 0.75. Okay, now you say, well, the problem with this is that this surface here is not angled. Well, I could angle it then with a chamfer. Okay, so basically, here, let's look at a cross section. I'll show you what I've done here. So let's look at a view of a half cross section. Whoop, not that. Half cross section across the middle. Okay, so you can see this line here is not at an angle. I want to make it an angle. Well, I could make it an angle simply by adding, it's called a chamfer. So let's add a chamfer. Let's make that chamfer, what's the chamfer? The chamfer is going to be 1/4 of an inch, 0.25, and select that. And you can see it's made that just an angle, or a chamfer is what we call it. Click OK. Okay, so that's got the inside holes there. So that's the other way to do it, using the loft. Either way is appropriate. It really doesn't make much of a difference there. Alright, hope that was helpful to you guys. So we've seen how to make these parts that have an angle using loft, also how to make them with revolution, and then how to make extrusions extrusions in combination with revolutions to make this complex part. Hope that helps. Keep it up on the lab for the next parts.